Right. Oh, no, no. It's very nice to see
Pozdrav.
your faces. Yeah, no worries.
All right. Perhaps this is a good moment as any to start. So good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, depending which time zone are you connecting from, to everyone here. My name is Valeria Graziano. I'm a research associate at CAS SEE, and I'll be hosting tonight's gathering, virtual gathering, to launch this new publication from the center. It's really good to see a lot of faces, non-faces that have been with us in the past. And yeah, and welcome to those whom I have not had the pleasure to meet yet. Basically, we are inhabiting a strange temporality, I think, globally, and this event is not exception, in the sense that although it is May 2024, we're actually closing a cycle that ended last year in 2023, if I'm not wrong, but Sanya will confirm in a minute. And that cycle marked the 10 years of activities of the Center for Advanced Studies Southeastern Europe, that we all know as CAS or CAS SEE, depending. That is based in the University of Rijeka in Croatia. And so we are here to basically maybe gather our thoughts and our feelings to just take stock of what happens in a decade in a region that has gone through a lot of transformations, in a world that has gone through a lot of transformations, and perhaps also to take stock of an academic sector that has gone through many iterations in these 10 years. It's a pity this event cannot be live, but perhaps it's also a good way to also acknowledge that as part of these last 10 years, we are just emerging in this long post-COVID temporality that again adds one layer of complexity to try to mark time, right? But I think that what's exciting about marking a 10 years anniversary with a book is that there's just like a materiality and a presence in a book that collects thoughts and leaves traces of conversations that happened around the center, that is that treats time and renders the time, gives it back to us, perhaps in a way that can be a good anchor to travel with. So even if it's just a little publication, we do hope that it can like sit comfortably and find a home either in your virtual desktop or on your physical shelves. So well, as part of my job as a host, I feel like I'll state some of the obvious things about SAS or CAS SEE. I never know, Sanya, which pronunciation you prefer, SAS or CAS? I think we have two teams usually, depending.
It all depends. It all depends.
And
okay, we don't appropriate any particular form.
Right. So the center, in any case, has grown, I think, into a rather pivotal academic hub in the region. And I think it continues to be a center that inspires dialogues and collaborations. And it's become renowned, I think, to act with the region as the region changes in priorities and in commitments. And I think one of the marks that you often mention to me in conversations is this commitment to interdisciplinarity, which has had perhaps like ups and downs in how popular it is with funders or conversations. So this would be maybe one of the questions I have for you to maybe share with us. What's your sense? What's your pulse of that? Given also the interdisciplinarity is one of the marks, I guess, of the volume that we are about to introduce. And so, as I mentioned, as part of my job, it is my pleasure to introduce Sanja, Professor Sanja Bojanic, who is with us, who is the director of CAS SEE, and she has an extensive research portfolio. I won't even try to summarize here. Her work spans from philosophy, gender studies, but it also reflects, I think her work reflects a deep commitment, Sanja, to advancing ethical political practices in academia and beyond. And really, and I think 10 years of CAS SEE really testified to a commitment to making spaces for others and holding spaces, which I think it's still a practice that needs to find its proper metrics within academia, a practice of generosity and reciprocity and building relations and regenerating them. So I think there's a lot to celebrate in that. And I would like then to invite you, without further ado, to maybe share with us some of your takes of the journey of CAS SEE over this past decade, maybe some achievements and maybe some challenges ahead. What's up, what's coming, what can we expect in the next cycle? Before we delve more into the book, which I'm particularly excited also to launch properly, because it marks the beginning of a new imprint that the center wants to initiate, and I have the pleasure to kind of contribute to. And yes, so without further ado, Sanja, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Valeria. But thank you also for editing the volume with me together in four hands, even more. If we count Tina as well, because without Tina, there will be no book. But above all, and before everything, thank you, Anna, for providing us a beautiful object. And this is the pleasure of having a nice piece of work in front of you. We are all here readers, and we are all fond of material or immaterial books, but when you when you take care of an object, as Anna with her team did, then it's also an added value, and again, a praise to, I'm not going to say aesthetics, but to creativity. This is my stake. Creativity instead of any other form of formal aestheticizing beauty or goodness whatsoever. So Anna, I hope that you will share with us a few hints about the politics of editing that you invested not only in this work, but also in work of some other publications that you're working on. And I do believe, and I look forward to continue working with you on other objects and other publications, thus inviting you all to tell us if you would wish to publish with us, and thus form a future series of Center for Advanced Studies library. That's first thing. So thank you, Anna. Thank you, Valeria, again for doing this with me. I will introduce Jeremy later on because he's part. So this is also very important, and thus providing also the introduction to the huge event that he's organizing this week in Rijeka. But I would also like to thank you all for being part of the Center for Advanced Studies, because without you, the center would have never existed without you and many others. If I count how many project applications we all went through, read, evaluated, reviewed, it's hundreds and hundreds. And the final number was around 140 without counting you, the new generation. So you are into 150 and something fellows of the Center for Advanced Studies for the last 10 years. And when I speak about past, of course, then I need to say a few words about institutions. Some of them are hospitable and some of them not. And I may say that particular hospitality we experienced at the University of Rijeka, which is a young, robust, and very much experimenting university in the region, thanks to the rector and back then vice rector, Professor Snježana Prič-Samardžija, who is one of the directors of the Center for Advanced Studies. Then I will thank also the Institute for Philosophy and Social Theory in Belgrade, and then Petar as well, because thanks to the Institute, we had that opportunity to build through people participating in this adventure, but also logistically and very much organizationally to move forward and try new forms of institutional gathering. And I now may start enumerating, but I will tell you that you as a regional Center for Advanced Studies fellows, the first generation of the officially regional fellowship is the next step into taking care of us, taking care of you in terms of continuing cherishing work that is breaching formal institutional way of doing academia, and doing it, as Valeria said, in solidarity, in generosity, in providing space for early career researchers. And we all know how hard it is, you know it, how hard it is to invest your time, invest your energy, invest your intellect, intellectual honesty in preparing and working on your doctoral thesis, and then going on whatever we call it and however we call it, the marketplace for academia, and not getting tenure positions. What does it mean to have a tenure position? I'm struggling, and we discussed it just today with Carlo Kralj, how a movement, political movement, is becoming a political party. And then here in academia, it's a specific formation as well. Are we in academia to advance research and science and arts, or as we are witnessing in United States or France or Germany in other way, or elsewhere, how we are repressed if we are for the freedom of speech, freedom of academia, freedom of expression. So Center for Advanced Studies for this 10 years was always on the edges of the formation of academia, and very much inclined to experimenting, either through this interdisciplinary or intersectoral or intersectional ways of doing academia. And I'm so happy to have this milestone of 10 years, but this will not be possible with people coming in, leaving, belonging and not belonging to this huge circle of engaged intellectuals. And we are all engaged, I think, for the same cause and reasons, and some of the articulations of that cause you can read in the book. I would love to hear Jeremy now to tell us more of his experience as a researcher, because Jeremy was one of the first fellows that joined us in Rijeka. And as a matter of fact, while writing and preparing his next work position in if I it was in blog. No, what was it? You will remind me of that, Jeremy.
Göttingen.
Yes, in Göttingen. Yeah, you were working on your ERC grant that you got, and we are so proud of it. And you came back to Rijeka, bringing back how many former fellows of the Center for Advanced Studies? But somehow this is the concentric circles of the center and the people that were inclined coming to Rijeka and coming back and again and working and staying in Rijeka. So I'm here now thinking of Tena Prelec, who is our first tenure appointment in Rijeka. As a researcher, Tena came from United Kingdom. And luckily, she's on maternal leave, and we are all happy to have a baby CAS at the moment. So with Tena's arrival, we are now on a threshold, or we are moving into creating a more robust formation, thinking of, and what if we are going to advance in the direction of teaching activities besides these that are already developed through research. Tena applied for a Horizon grant, a huge Horizon grant that the center actually got thanks to her the work and partnership that she brought also to the center. So this is also something, a milestone that can make us more into maturity. This is it. So I gave you kind of a overview how this was happening and why we are welcoming all of you, and why we are expecting that all of you will come back in this or another way. Firstly, now through Jeremy's conference, and you will tell us more about Revenant, because this will be wonderful. And within Revenant, how many fellows? What is it that you had? And so thank you, Jeremy, also for accepting the offer to write the introduction, because your introduction is a valuable part of the book as well.
Thank you so much, Sonia. Shall I just move ahead then from here, and we can sort of slowly transition into a discussion of the volume. First, thank you so much for those kind words, Sonia. I should also thank Valeria both Sonia and Valeria for the really quite generous invitation to write the introduction, which I'll say a bit more about in a moment, as well as to Tina, who's been an incredible support, both with the volume and with everything else in the interface between our ongoing work at the Revenant Project and CAS. Greetings to all from a rainy afternoon now in Zagreb, by the way. Sonia actually anticipated some of the points that I wanted to make in her kind remarks. It's always fascinating to me to reflect on how one narrates one's own intellectual, academic, and activist sort of autobiography at different points in one's life. But for me, at the current moment, my own time at CAS in the autumn of 2015 and the winter of 2016 is this pivotal point. It's really where I think of a sort of movement in the direction and trajectory of my own research and that of the wonderful people around me, because I've been really fortunate to be able to have people around me. So not only are there at the Revenant Research Project at the University of Rijeka, which Sonia mentioned, my current project, there are two former CAS fellows there, Ivan Flis and Kevin Kenjar. I can never remember how he prefers to have it pronounced. It's a bit of an ongoing conversation, in fact, for those of you who speak Nashki, of course. But then also in my previous project at the Max Planck Institute for the Study of Religious and Ethnic Diversity in Göttingen in Germany, there were two former CAS fellows, in addition to myself there as well, Piero Reggepi and Giulia Carabelli from that first generation of CAS fellows. So I really I can't express enthusiastically and sort of vocally enough how much I feel I found a home, both sort of a home of sensibility, a home of scholarship, a home of social connection in CAS, and I'm eager to take that forward to the second decade. I also will just say very briefly before I start talking about the book that we are having a major event, the major event in some sense, in the coming days, beginning on Wednesday, the 15th, this Wednesday, and lasting through the 17th. That will also, in fact, have an online sort of section of this conference on the 21st, Tuesday the 21st, next week. This conference is sponsored by our ERC group Revenant, and it's titled Post-Colonial, Decolonial, Post-Imperial, De-Imperial. It's become, of course, quite the circus, and I guess that makes me some sort of ringleader, though I feel more like a juggler who's about to lose track of the knives or flaming torches that he is juggling and therefore suffer. But no, I think it's all coming together nicely. We have some many wonderful participants, certainly former CAS fellows among them. Maria Todorova and Madina Tlostanova will be the two keynotes in person. Our third keynote will have to deliver her lecture online due to health issues, Priyam Gopal. But I'm really looking forward to it, and I would eagerly encourage and invite all of you, if you're in and around Rijeka, to join us at the Filozofski Fakultet, the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. And you can reach out to either myself or to our wonderful administrator, Emanuela Erasmus, if you have any questions about that. But now, just a few brief words about the volume as I conceive of it. Thank you again to Valeria and Sonia for involving me in this. I've been considering quite a lot recently in the context of my own research, the relationship between the sort of analytical work that one does in attempting to sort of unearth the not always intuitive or obvious structures of power that inhabit the context of our research, and then the synthetic work of bringing different contexts and also, for that matter, different fields of scholarship into relationship to each other. Certainly, the work of either a center such as CAS or a volume such as Contours of Change is a great synthetic work, and so I sort of think of it under that sign, and I'm going to try to synthesize what I understand to be some of the main themes, the principal interventions of the volume. I'm a little bit nervous speaking in front of many of our authors. I won't refer to any of the individual contributions because there's just not time to do so, but I look forward to hearing what you have to say. It was really, I have to say, before anything else, a labor of great pleasure, or perhaps it was a pleasure of great labor, some of both of those, I suppose. Befitting the aspirations, as I understand them, of CAS, the individual and collective efforts that constitute the volume navigate between the distinction between universalizing arguments in philosophy, the humanities, and the social sciences, and the specificity of research rooted in the genealogies and geographies of Southeast Europe, the Balkans, and the Eastern Mediterranean. And I don't think that this can be overemphasized. That sort of relationship between the general and the specific is constitutive of the volume. It's constitutive of what I understand to be CAS's purview and mission as well. So ultimately, this distinction, I think, is less of a dilemma than a desirability. As each of us knows, there's a sort of paradox involved in the aspiration to speaking universally from positions that are considered to be marginal, semi-peripheral, so on and so forth. And so whenever this comes up, I think back of, among other sort of interlocutors, the Dipesh Chakrabarty's notion of provincializing Europe. You can say that the center and the volume are indeed provincializing Southeast Europe, or Southeast Europe provincializing Europe. And of course, Maria Todorova would be the one to talk to about some of these issues of how one understands Europe from this particular the particular spaces that we inhabit in Southeast Europe. But I'll leave that to her at the conference. As I think I quoted at the outset of my introduction, Ivo Andrić's reflections from his Balkan or Travnik chronicle come to mind as he writes, quote, "Are my thoughts, which are good and right, worth any less than someone else's identical thoughts in Rome or Paris, simply because I've conceived them in this mountain gorge known as Travnik? Certainly not. What is to prevent my thoughts from being jotted down and appearing between the cover of a book? Nothing. And even if things seem to be disjointed and chaotic, they are nevertheless linked together and interdependent." So it's the final sentence that I find most important in all of this. It's from places that are distant in some way or another from centers of power and persuasion, in which this interdependence, we could say indeed intersectionality of things, bodies, objects becomes most dramatically visible. Contours of Change itself, as I think most of you know, consists of two overarching sections. The first, exploring regional realities, insights from the Southeastern frontier, and the second, reimagining power and possibility, essays on political and critical thought. And so those, in my mind, correspond to the two defining commitments of CAS. On the one hand, the regional geographic focus, and on the other, an engagement with urgent debates and dilemmas in contemporary political philosophy. So, and I think I'm just, again, perhaps beating a deceased horse at this point, but I think we should understand this as a sign of mutuality rather than the expression of the exhausted distinction between the local and the global. The essays in the volume, and it's so wonderful to see many of the authors here. I hope to meet you in person as well soon. They shuttle from regional specificity to universal critique, from general concepts to particular from general concepts to particular contexts. Sometimes one's tongue doesn't agree with one's mind. Actually, often that seems to be the case, with admirable dialectical agility. And so I think one of the great lessons of the volume is that the abstract and the concrete cannot do without one another. So again, I don't want to do an injustice to the multitude of different themes and arguments and topics that our authors advance. But one overarching commitment, I think, that unites most of the contributions, and this is something that I write about in the introduction, is the sort of perspective on the protean ubiquity of violence as an inherent aspect of the political, both today and in the past, but especially in contemporary contexts. So individually, if I recall correctly, I hope I recall correctly, the essays attend to plural forms and formations of violence, including the aftermaths of war and related forms of environmental violence, discursive and symbolic violence involved in the exclusionary effects of othering, even in contexts of hospitality in the Derridian sense, and especially, and this comes through in many different essays, gendered violence and violence that targets LGBTQIA plus individuals and concomitantly marks bodies that refuse the sterilizing categorizations of heteronormativity. So attending to the volume's interrogation of multiple forms of violence attendant to and sort of related to this interrogation is a keen interest as well, and I think especially befitting the more specific geographical purview of CAS and the volume, an interest in how violent legacies of the past fuel collective memories today, which often result in unanticipated yet linked effects of violence in the present. So that memory studies angle, of course, is something particularly of interest to me, given my own sort of unwieldy research on the legacies of empires past and their ongoing sort of collective memories, the violence that attends to them today. So I don't think it's necessary at this point to point out or emphasize that an emergent bottom-up critique of violence, such as that which comes about through the essays in Contours of Change, is urgently needed today. Whether in the context of neo-colonial genocidal violence in Gaza, neo-imperial warfare in Ukraine, or the violent silencing of conflicts in Sudan, Myanmar, and elsewhere, both overt and covert political violence saturates our daily lives and remains a condition of our political being in ways that we are often loath to acknowledge. Ultimately, I think that Contours of Change and its authors take up this challenge with immense dedication, and I admire their efforts. I salute them, and I look forward to hearing a bit more from them now. And that was a rather abrupt end, but I think we can perhaps Valeria or Sonia can
absolutely
gently lead us.
Don't worry, this is a great end, and thank you for really having the sensitivity of kind of connect. I think your introduction captures so well all the different ways and also the difficulties in like staying true to a commitment to inhabiting the tension between particularity and generality, not wanting to give up on either ends. And at the same time, I think coincidentally, again, the temporalities of ways to play with us humans, but there's just a way in which the theme of violence, which was one that was kind of offered to fellows into 2023, so it was conceived even earlier. I think it finds I think new ways to become urgent today in the wake of what's going on in Palestine, the massacre there, in Ukraine, the floods in Afghanistan. I mean, there's all kinds of ways in which academia is, I think, being again and again interpelled to like come up with ways and standpoints out of which we can think with the word and what's happening. So thank you for that. And I would like to suggest that perhaps now we leave the floor to some of the authors that have been indeed with us in the cycle of 2022-2023 in two different cohorts of fellows. And without putting anyone on the spot, because we were not sure how many of you would be able to join us for today, but I think I see 4 of you, Christian, Leda, Andy, and Thomas, and I'm just reading you in the order that you appear on my screen. So I hope this could be a working order. So yeah, I would like to invite you, if you wish, and this can also be passed, but it'd be great to hear just a few words around your piece in the volume, just to give us a taste of what are the preoccupations that you brought in the volume, and perhaps if you wish, what was your experience at CAS? What was your takeaway? Even recommendations for the future. It doesn't need to be a. I think I'm thinking that especially in some instances, you were first in different ways because the kind of the offer in the course of the fellowship changes every time. So yeah, so I guess I would say Christian perhaps, and then Leda and then Tomasz, if you're happy with that. And then we'll wrap up with Anna and going back to the book in its physical form and look.
Thank you, Valeria. Thank you, Sanja, and to all the staff and colleagues and of the CAS. Well, as for my short essay in the book, it is about understanding the end of the Kosovo War in 1999. So this is a work based on new disclosed archival sources, especially in the United States, and the Yugoslav sources, the Serbian sources. Most of those sources were digitized and put online on online repository. So it is something new and different from the old work in the archives with the paper and paper documents. And the concept is to analyze, put under scrutiny after 25 years, how this war ended, how this war that started in 1998 ended with the intervention of NATO against Yugoslavia to stop a humanitarian crisis. So I put under scrutiny this historical event. And according to my analysis and sources, it was an intense work of diplomacy. Each part, let's say the Yugoslav part, the American part, and the Albanian, Kosovo Albanian part got something. It was avoidable, yes. And it was also, this event was in the context of the long way of the end of the Cold War, with a totally different international context, during which the United Nations had a very small impact compared to the previous decades. So this is what, let's say, the main point of this research, and how this international crisis evolved and escaped. As for my experience as a CAS fellow, well, I have just good words, because it was excellent in the sense that it was a stimulating environment to meet with other scholars and to exchange ideas. It was important for me for intellectual freedom, because it is not, let's say, always like that. And also the support that I always got from all of you, Sanja, Peter, and all the other people. And so this is and I would totally recommend to other early career scholars to spend some time in Rijeka at the center. So thank you.
I guess now it's my turn, right? Hi everyone, and it's really a pleasure to be back, at least in this form, and to see all of the familiar faces. And yeah, I think since this is a celebratory occasion, I should start by stressing my personal experience of participating in the work of CAS, and especially at this time of the year when I was a fellow, I feel quite nostalgic for Rijeka and my time in Rijeka, which on top of all of these academic things, I really appreciated and see like I feel like to be absolutely privileged to get the chance to get to know the city and many amazing people that live in the city and the people at the university. So I'll be eternally grateful for that. In terms of work at CAS, I have to stress the possibility of organizing seminars, which really helped me to gain a new perspective on my topic. And also now when I reflect on it now in this like a stream of thought, it was also a period of like a really, really intense period for me, a lot of work where I juggled two projects, one of which was on contemporary feminist activism in post-Yugoslav space, but the other was on sociocultural centers in the same space. And the book Waving Spaces, published by Cooperativa and Operacija Grad, has been recently published. So this was, for me, like a period of intense work and socialization and new experiences. So I remember it fondly, and hopefully there'll be other opportunities to get back. As far as the text in the book, I must say I wrote it in frenzy because it was an intense period, as I mentioned. And it's about the latest feminist generation in post-Yugoslav space. And with this, I wanted to address temporality, inclusivity, and especially a fact that these actors are utilizing to produce this like a new form of activism. And basically my focus was to see how does this new generation perceives and does feminism. And also I wanted to map interconnections with transnational feminist movement, such as with very vibrant movements of the country in Argentina and Poland. And of course, I started from observing the intense and very, very amusing online activity and the online boom of this activism that interconnected the region sharing the same linguistic space. So what my research showed is that this generation is really not looking the doors to knock on, to show up and pursue their political aims. And they utilize technology and social networks to create spaces of expression and resistance. And I also argued that the fact that they predominantly abandoned the NGO form actually in favor of some other more free forms of independent collectives and other formats of grassroots social movement organizing. This created more playful, creative, and effective activist forms as they were free from donor constraints and similar strict rules. We also noticed continuities with previous activist generations, such as DIY aesthetics, queer left, anti-capitalist leanings, and most notably, frequent addressing of AFG. And this can arguably be seen as a criticism of both post-socialist transformations as well as previous feminist generations, as well, of course, the desire to signal the connection to this particular form of socialist women's organizing. I also noticed how this generation carefully chooses from the feminist archives different feminist temporalities in order to create their own position. And we also notice, as I mentioned already, great utilization of effects, especially in the cases such as Vala Ljeposava and Sve su to vještica. And also in one of these seminars, I had the privilege to host Hannah Churak, the author of this amazing webpage. So this was really also a great experience. So we basically see that through this activity, by utilizing humor, so not only anger and outrage, like the usual repertoires in social movements activities, we also see the utilization of humor. And this was really amusing to follow this and to analyze and to see how this kind of impact can spill over from the circle of the usual suspects and spread outside of it. And also I have to mention the night march organized by Factiv, in which I participated last year. And this is at the same time space to express grievances, but also to foster sense of community, engage in reparative politics, and also to celebrate, because it's 8th of March. So basically this comparison of the feminist generations, we see that the latest ones utilizes temporalities, effects, and creates inclusion through alliances with other struggles. And most distinctively infuses feminist activism, which I find really important, with playfulness, passion, and fun. And I will stop with fun.
Maybe I will ask Andy if you want to say a few words. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having me in general, for giving me the opportunity, for inviting me to Rijeka and to give my contribution as an artist and artistic research, which is always a bit of a nebula and never clear and has very little space in academia. So I'm really, really grateful to have been chosen among the researchers last year. It has been quite challenging to work on the subject because the systems of violence kind of, since we met all together in Rijeka, just have abundantly overflown in several aspects, especially for me, because I live in Germany currently. And it's a very, very sad, full of violence, humiliating moment for migrant subjects or for freedom of speech for artists, etc. So I feel like I need a Rijeka time also this year, but unfortunately I cannot have it. I attach myself to what Leda said, and I'm really also nostalgic of the atmosphere of meeting, of getting to know you, of sharing, of navigating academic language with the other. It was particularly challenging for me because coming from cultural studies previously and then video art, visual arts, and performing arts later, it is not easy to carve ways of being together within a language or ways of communicating. But it was certainly important for my research and also for informing the way I write and also the way I wrote my contribution, which I don't know if I can call it in any name or an essay. I am really grateful to have had this space because I really work with friction and with contrasts. And it is a way of being so micro-specific about memory, microbiographies of three women, of vulnerability, and performative writing in a way linked to memory studies and to violence. I reflect on ongoing research with two female Albanian subjects, Musine Kokalari, first published Albanian woman writer, and I reference her stay in fascist Italy as a student based on her diaries, the experience of a writer, activist, and survivor of sex trafficking, Adelina Seidini, who committed suicide in Rome as a form of protest in 2021 after her denied Italian citizenship. So I tap into many forms of violence because of the biographies of the two women, but I also link my own migrant experience and references on this experience of the woman from the East as seen from the eyes of the Albanian migrant experience as La Ragazza dell'Est in the context of Italy, but it also washes over somehow the experience of the Western Balkans, the east of Europe, however we try to attach to geographical descriptions and categories, and how it is reflected in the West. So in a way, in this friction, I am in the format of an essay, which is not an essay all the time. And I provoke a little bit the lines of semi-autobiographic or autobiographic storytelling and the diary form, which has a specific connection to violence. And I hope I can make the readers uncomfortable. This was my, in a very productive way, in the most positive connotation of the term uncomfortable, since this is also my practice in this case for the performance. Yeah, I think I talked too much maybe, so pass over to Valeria.
Thank you. Well, just to welcome Tomasz then as our fourth contributor present. Hello.
Hi everyone, and it's nice to see all the familiar faces and also the new one, and this opportunity, yeah, to recollect or just only positive memories that I have to Rijeka and to the time I spent there, and it was really great. So hopefully, once time I come back, as Sanya suggested, that there is this possibility. So especially I could, let's say, I'm a little bit biased, because I like swimming and to be in Rijeka this summer. So for this reason, it was great to combine, say, some intellectual stuff and some, to refresh the head a bit in the water. So, and to my piece in this contribution, I was surprised that it was in a form of book, and it is great to, let's say, collect the ideas and put them together. It's quite difficult task. And I think that the work is in a way hopefully is successful. And my my piece, the authors that speak before me, they rather on the, let's say, concrete subject or concrete particular context that with regard to violence. My piece was, yeah, purely philosophical in a way. So uh, and purely in a way abstract, hopefully in a good sense, not in a bad sense. So I just try to think how to think about the war in a way that we can live with it and at the same time condemn it. Yeah, so how to reconcile with it in a Hegelian sense. It does not mean that to be okay with that, but to at the same time to condemn it. And I just begin with the book that was written in 1959 by John Waltz. I think that was John, and the book is titled "Man, State, and War," and he basically uh, spoke about three different causes of war, and I just briefly summarized his position. And all these three causes of war are such a causes in one way. It is the cause from the human nature. We are part of the nature. We are emotional, and therefore war time to time appears. Uh, this is something that morality or the moral person or the free person cannot reconcile with it. The second point is Kantian position, and the last one is the Rousseau, that we live in anarchy. And just to conclude, I tried to um, offer a fourth explanation of war, which would be the Hegelian one, and I just the only way that I see that the war can be analyzed in a way that um, um, it is, let's say, at this, that we should be condemning it, we should overcome it, but at the same time not abstractly condemn it, but to really reconcile with it, that we are part of the problem. Not only we are always entangled it and we cannot overcome it. And this position would be that when Kant said in the Towards the Perpetual Peace, he said that all forms of government should be republican. This is the moral position, that all forms of government should be republican. This creates tension on the other side, that some kind of counter reaction, some kind of particularistic backfire in a way. And this, this is, in my view, in the short paper that I wrote, could be an explanation of the war, that the universalistic approach on the one hand, on the universalistic ideology on the one hand, and on the other hand, all those, let's say, Putin style, that you recall the history, that you are the chosen nation, that you have a specific position in the world, and there's all this particularistic counter-reaction to universalistic ideology are, let's say, situation that cannot be overcome, and this is the end of history. And we will live forever with this clash that time to time will collapse in a war or erupt in a war, but this is I would suggest this is more or less Hegelian understanding of what does it mean to live after the end of the history. So when history is over, it doesn't mean in Fukuyama's sense that every country will be republican and peaceful, but there will be always these counter reactions that appear time to time. So this was my in short way, my argument in that piece. So I conclude here. Sorry.
No worries. Thank you, Tomasz. Yeah, as you can tell, there is a range of interest, and I think we are welcoming all of them and what they contribute. Now, without further ado, and as the last step of the way, just before we launch this book into the world, I would like to invite Anna Labudovic, who is the designer who worked with us, to give some feel and percept and affect to the object that we're talking about and put it out in the world. And so, yeah, if you like to share, I think we're all academics here mostly, so except maybe Andy, and it'd be great to hear from a different perspective what the journey to get to a publishing point might feel like, and your vision for the series. So welcome, Anna.
Thank you, Valeria. Hello, everyone. It's really nice and exciting to see some of the people behind the essays in this volume. I'm saying hi from my studio in Rijeka, and sorry for the mess as I see it now behind me. There is some stuff on the floor. Thank you, Sanja, and thank you, Valeria, for the kind words and the introduction. Basically, I cannot start any other way but thanking CAS SEE for this opportunity to collaborate on this project, especially the team, Sanja Bojanic, Valeria Graziano, and Tina Peric for all their trust, since this is our first collaboration together. Also for providing a stimulating context for developing this book, to discussing ideas, from the initial concept to the final product. And from the beginning to the end on really great teamwork. Of course, above all, I would like to thank all the authors for their contributions. The thing is, like when you lay out books for a living, it's quite common to just skim the text and look through it. You see characters and you see empty spaces, and with this one it was quite different. It was the other way around. I had to snap out of reading and go back to pushing those pixels and points. So really, as much as it is worth to you academics from a graphic designer, great work for all the essays that you have and all the contributions that you have done. I also have to mention and give special thanks to Corin Punjak, my assistant, for all the hard work and also of these pushing pixels and points. And finally, the printer, Sveučilišna tiskara in Zagreb, for their meticulous printing. The irony is I have been away for 2 weeks and I haven't seen the final product, but I have received pictures of it and it looks quite exciting and I cannot wait to grab a hold of it. Sanja is now waving it and I'm just jealous of this. I work as a graphic designer and a printer and an aspiring independent publisher. So books are obviously a passion of mine, but so is contributing in my own way to projects and discourses that I feel aligned with in terms of values. It is exciting to be on board for this new chapter, this new endeavor for CAS SEE, because after 10 years to launch the first book as a part of a book series is really a new step and a new push forward, where I believe in one way you really have the opportunity to like evaluate the stuff that you have done so far, but also have a really good platform to push on further. So I felt really that this is an important thing that I should not mess up. So how I tried to frame it and try to think through the frame of both the function and the form of this series, starting with this like first anniversary publication, is to think about like first going from the outside in and thinking first about the whole series, thinking about a series that will comprise of, we don't know at this moment exactly how many volumes, but it will be released in some type of cycles. So for the first cycle, I decided to feature a consistent color scheme, so we can facilitate the distinction between these cycles. So for the first one, we have this gray and a little bit like washed out neon yellow for the cover. And inside, we're keeping it really simple and black and white. But both for the cover and the inside, we printed on recycled paper, as we wanted to reflect our commitment to sustainability. The book cover itself, as you might have seen when Sanya showed it, it's constructed as an extendable double flap, so making it thicker and more durable element to the design. It's some kind of a sturdy, soft cover. The covers in this series, they feature a grid as a foundation for a geometric abstract illustration, which is a little bit less abstract for this first volume because we wanted to highlight the number 10. And the back cover of each publication will include, and now includes, a comprehensive list of all the chapters, offering you a convenient reference point for navigating through the content. Also, you can find more content, more info about the CAS SEE when you open the book flaps. As a volume that comprises essays from various authors, a multitude of themes from critique to theory, and considering the context of the university and kind of like a more scientific approach, it leaves me with a very honest decision that I want to keep things very minimalist and classic and very functional in terms of legibility. So the book layout is focused on maximum readability, with the printed version that allows some space on the margins for writing notes, and the digital PDF that we've also prepared that is equipped with like a clickable index, and all the hyperlinks are leading where they should. So some space for experimenting was in this in the cover and in the openings of the chapters with this discrete illustration, but a very strong typographic presence for the titles. This was my point of like allowing myself a little bit more of experimentation, because this typography in particular is really like resurrects shapes that you can see maybe as too expressive, but it's a very meticulous typographic family that has a very pragmatic execution. And this is all I give you from my typographic nerding out. Yeah, thank you once again for this opportunity, and I'm here if there's any questions.
Thank you, Anna. I'm not sure, Sanya, if you want to share the PDF here or to announce where it's going to be on the website, because on that, I'm not the most informed person.
The PDF is on the web, and do send us your physical addresses so that by snail mail you get the sample.
Yes, this will be underway soon. We will be in touch with a number of you.
And I really, Anna, thank you. And thank you, Valeria, also for wrapping it up with Anna, because I have it as an object and I love it. Because it's, thank you to Sveučilišna knjižnica, Tiskara as well, because it's a perfect work. It's really patent and beautiful object. And once again, to wrap up all this, to let it be sweet and short, I really invite you to send us your suggestions. If you maybe wish to publish a volume of yours or anything of a sort, to participate in our work through editorial committees or advisory committees, we will have soon an invitation to join all these, again, formations that we are going to create. But as I see that we are among us, I wish to thank you once again, and Valeria, yourself as well, very much for what we have done together. And I'm very much looking forward to what we are going to do together. Us or those that are coming, because we are expecting always new faces, new researchers, always in solidarity, always thinking on new perspectives that we are going to develop together. And I may just share some impressions from these days gatherings on behalf of those who came here for the first time and experienced it with us. It's always wonderful, and it's always a satisfaction to see people that are enjoying doing the research. We are in academia, and we are taking our time to do the research, to do the readings. And this is, I may say, a privilege to do it in Moise Palace and to do it with you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Yeah, thanks, Sanja. And see some of you soon at the Postcolonial, Decolonial, and Post-Imperial and the Imperial Conference. Thanks again. Bye.
Thank you, and have a nice evening.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks again.
Thank you.
So
Bye.
Hope to see you at our conference.
Vale, do you have a minute?
I don't, I'm sorry.
No worry, nothing to be sorry.
Speak,
I wanted to
yeah.
thank you. I wanted to thank you. Okay.
Thank you, it's all right.
Stay in touch for everything. Thank you, and take care.
We did it, it's out.
Yeah,
it's a first.
Yeah, exactly.
As imperfect as it might be, but I think we're learning, and yeah, it's a great first step and dipping our toes into publishing. So yeah.
Take care.
Good.
See you.
Speak soon, Sanja. As soon as I can, we will touch base properly. Okay. Bye to all.